Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
We got another one, right?
We gotta close right now.
Oh, we got another here. So we do. Jacob and him. The guys?
We're sorry for the delay.
Yeah. Apologize. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks guys for waiting. That last meeting went a little longer than we were hoping. We're here for drainage district number 48. It's south of town. The outlet's actually on the west side of Interstate 35, but the majority of the land is on the east side of 35.
How many guys are here for this 48?
I think
All of them? Okay.
All the-
Just checking.
everybody's got
All right.
And there was a petition filed for drainage for improvements within drainage district number 48. We're finishing up a report now. We want to have just an informational meeting before we file that report. So this meeting, there's no decisions to be made. This is just letting you guys kind of see what we're looking at before we file a report. So if we need to, we can make changes now and put them into our report. Drainage district 48, we found that the tile was undersized. What was the drainage coefficient?
Somewhere around 0.15.
So what we recommend, or what's been recommended by the state of Iowa, Iowa State University, is a half-inch drainage coefficient. And drainage coefficient, when you say half-inch of drainage, it means you're removing a half-inch of water off the land within 24 hours. And that's what's been found to be the standard that's been recommended by Iowa State for lands in northern Iowa. That you want to be able to remove a half-inch of water within 24 hours. That's the modern standard. It's been in place since about the 1950s. Prior to that, they used the quarter-inch coefficient. So it was draining about a quarter of an inch. And then before that, they were draining, when they were originally just putting tile in, they were draining around a tenth. And this particular drainage district is draining at about 0.15 inches per acre. So it's draining about 4 times less than what is recommended today for modern drainage. So what we've proposed, if you look at your map, you can see all the red lines. The red lines in here are the existing tiles. So there's several branches were constructed. These were all constructed around the 19 teens. So they're about a little over 100 years old now. They were all roughly draining at about that 0.15 drainage coefficient, about 4 times less than what we recommend today. And so what we've worked on is that if you see the black dotted lines, that's where we're proposing new tiles to be constructed. And we're not proposing every single branch be reconstructed. A lot of these branches were serving very small areas. They're maybe just serving one farmer or one field. We're proposing to kind of consolidate as many as possible to try to save some money, because laying tiles is expensive. We want to try to keep the cost down as much as possible and try to get as much bang for your buck if you can. So we propose the outlet here. If you kind of follow it, head up, the main is right here. It's the longest stretch what we've got. Everyone understand where I'm pointing. We probably should have labeled these on our maps, but it's this one here that's on the kind of on the most northerly route. And on that particular one, because it drains the entire watershed, all about 2,100 acres drain to that tile. All the land within the blue drains to that tile. It's about 2,100 acres. It needs to be to get that half-inch, you have to have a larger pipe. So what we've recommended is on this lower portion, a 42-inch tile, the lower portion. I think right now it's a 24.
Yep, sounds right.
24-inch tile, so it's quite an increase. And then upstream of that, we eventually once we start breaking off the laterals, so we have this first lateral here. We're able to remove quite a bit of the land and we're able to downsize the tile above that. So we go to a 27 inch. And that's because we're able to remove so many acres off of it that we can get to a smaller size tile, but still maintain that 1/2 inch drainage coefficient there. But we'll eventually keep tapering that down until the very end, it's a 12 inch tile, is what we recommend. All total, we've estimated that work at about $1.3 million for construction. Which comes out to about a little over $600 an acre on the main itself. And that would be everyone on the main would have to pay for the main. So everyone in the entire watershed. We have been asked to reclassify this district. So we would reclassify it as part of the project. To determine what each individual person's dollar amount would be. Is there any questions before I get farther along? Yes.
On DD2, the cost is kind of low too, but then it almost doubled with when they found out the engineers didn't survey it right, or how was that?
Are you talking 21 or 22?
21.
Okay. We just did two, Jim, so I, sorry.
But anyway, the cost went up tremendously.
Well, they do some digging and different things. I mean, it was before I actually got on, I just
No,
got
it was
into.
on at the
No, I
time.
got into say yes to the final payment. Yeah, you're right, it did go up some, but
It went up quite a bit.
Yeah.
It really put a lot of pressure on the landowners. And so you're 1.6 million, you said? That's really
1.3.
1.3.
Yeah, it could get up to 2 to 2.5 million in there.
It is an estimate at this point.
It's
So
a low estimate, so you should say that because you can put a lot of people who own land in this district in jeopardy of having to sell because they can't be taxed.
So I wasn't around for DD21. I guess in my experience, when I've done tile projects, I've been pretty close with mine. Now, this may be the one that.
That's
true enough.
It's all hit and miss and you always go low. And then the surprises come and really upsets people.
Go ahead.
And we should have, yeah.
Okay, if you're gonna reclassify, then the people up at the top will pay more.
Yes,
How
so
about if you're not even hooked up to the line?
if you're not hooked up, we'll make that
as long as you're
adjustment
in the district.
at the classifications. If there's land that you tile out of them.
When we get assessed, they're gonna have to bring a line all the way up to that farm.
Yes.
I'm part of it.
Part of it. So. So how we do reclassification is we look at 4 factors. The first factor we look at is how much of the tile you use. So if you're just right down at the outlet of it, let's say you're on, there's people who are west of the interstate. You didn't need that much tile to get to your farm. It was, they would have been probably happy to just build the tile for a couple hundred feet and then stop. So they're gonna pay less than someone who's at the far upper end, who had to have that construction, that tile go all the way up. It was additional cost to bring that tile to you. So that's the first factor we use. The second factor is proximity to the tile. The closer you are to the tile, the easier it is for you to get access to it. If it goes through your property, you can just hook right into it. But if you've got, say this 40 right here, you've got to go through your neighbor to get to, you're gonna hook into that. You're gonna pay less than someone who's right on it because you have to deal with your own private system to use it. The third factor we use is the soil wetness, and that's just how wet your soils are. We use NRCS, their soil survey. So your heavy clays, your low lying areas are gonna pay more than your lighter soils or your hilltop soils, because they need that drainage. They're probably the ones that, the reason there is these tiles in here. And then the fourth factor, which shouldn't have much of an impact on this particular property, except for the interstate, is roads and towns we make pay more because their lands are designed to shed that water quickly. Farm fields have a sponge of ground where you can sponge in there, where if you've got a hard surface like the interstate, you're shedding that water off as quickly as possible.
Which section you're in there, Ron?
Yeah, so
27, I believe.
So you're-
So
You're up here.
you got actual ground inside the blue lines there in 27, is that right?
Well, I can't really figure out.
Well, that's what I'm trying, I know you got the one piece a little farther over, I'm trying to figure out, I don't know where you all got all your land, but.
All I remember is years ago, I got an assessment on it,
Okay.
and I went up and saw Morris County.
Oh,
That was a couple years ago.
Anyway, Morris said, he said, that tile line main sits way down in Knutson's.
okay,
So most of my water all goes to the northeast.
right,
Now, there is a little bit that dumps in the ditch. But I've got a piece of wetland that got qualified as wetland because they never brought that tile up years ago to that place.
right,
So what I'm saying is, if I'm gonna be assessed a bunch on that,
you want it,
then they're gonna have to bring a tile line up.
that's something you
You
can
you
do.
want a branch lateral, are you this property over here? On-
Well, like I said, I tried to tell, but we pay taxes on section 27.
Okay, because these are all these squares are 40s, so this whole, and that's.
I know it's got the one next to the church, but I didn't know you had.
Because there's probably 48, there's probably 160 in section 27 that drained. That we found drained to this tile.
It'd be this one, right?
It's all the southwest corner,
No, it'd be farther
and a little bit of the
Cause the lay down yard is, where's the lay down yard?
southeast quarter,
Right there.
maybe 10
There
acres
you
in the
go.
southeast.
No, that could be this one right here.
I think that.
So I think Wyman's the one. that does
Yeah.
it.
It is that, and in the district.
Well, that would be the next section.
And,
Oh, make one bacon?
yeah.
I throw a beacon up on this.
Just curious where it's at.
Now, let's see Beacon.
Throw it up on the screen.
Sure.
You're driving?
I'm driving.
Okay.
I'll bring it up on the TV screen, get it, so we can all see what we're looking at.
Cause you own the one right next to the church, right?
No,
Oh. Who owns that one?
That's a Brunswick farm.
Oh, it's Brunswick Farm. Okay, I was thinking you guys had that or farmed it anyway, but.
This is the windmill road, this one little.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the windmill road.
So we're up by the casino then? is it?
No.
No, we're down.
Go down.
Oh, okay, okay.
What's that here, up here?
Well, yeah, but we have a
Would be
windmill
410.
on there, a couple windmills.
Is that what it is there?
Yeah, so
they're the very, very.
They probably only have.
And John.
You want to pick your little
And
drainage district over there on the left and then.
But it potentially, you know, I think you're saying. it could.
There's the interstate.
Your drainage
Uh,
district one.
Be up here.
We have windmills.
There you go.
There, now it's 48.
They're the 80 that's just on the north, the very north tip of it.
So it could be,
Yeah, like you said, you got like just a few acres of technically really drain that way right now, but if they'd have put it in deeper years ago, you would have been able to drain the whole thing probably.
So right up that.
You wouldn't have a wetland.
No.
Okay.
Okay, I was just curious, I
Find out
just,
the wetland.
yeah. So I mean, that's something that could be
So, yeah, we-
discussed if you're.
Next one
We're in
north.
favor
Go
of
up
it.
north of that and click on, right there.
David Helgeson Trust?
Yeah.
and nor, you know, this isn't exact easily, but
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
close.
So that's why we ended up.
Ron,
Yeah, it shows that little blurb up there.
Click on that.
So here's the whole 80 there, so that's the other piece of it. So right now you're looking at, you've got
Mhm.
three acres
Yeah.
in this district, maybe, what we've recommended. Or would you rather we extend the main farther up and bring more of your land into it? Is that what you're,
No, it's already,
okay,
goes the other way right now. Yeah. Okay, I got you. So yeah, you only have like, you said like 3 acres going on.
yeah, it looks like looks like we have about three, well, yeah, a little bit like that map,
Yeah.
there's a few acres of drain.
So then if it's tiled the other way, will
If
that
it's tiled
matter?
the other way, we would.
You get a minimum
adjustment
So we
or
get that
reclassification.
minimum assessment.
Yeah, if you've got
$5.
tile maps,
Oh, yeah, because we can't
you
take
can bring
them
them
out.
in, and we can make that adjustment to lower that assessment on those acres.
Cost you $5.
At the
Yeah.
max, anytime anything's done.
Yeah.
Can you? All right, just,
Well, it's Christmas.
wow.
Yeah, and along those lines, if anyone has any tile maps they would like to bring in, we can drop them off with Val.
Yeah.
Or we could put those into our report, just so we know where everyone's water is exactly coming from, and we can make adjustments.
Just for clarification, what we're talking about, this is not a repair. This would be an improvement.
This would
So
be-
it is subject to, if you all decided it or not, you could do remonstrance.
Which remonstrance is if 50% of the landowners owning 70% of the land vote no, the project is dead. That's how you kill a project. So it's fairly high threshold. The board also has some discretion. If, you know, you guys are one person short, but they can have their own vote as well, but you guys do have a say on this. You have a vote.
Who is pushing this?
The petition was filed.
It's not violent. Isn't it? It's
Reed.
violent, Reed, wasn't it?
Well, and not,
Bobby say that.
or not fracking,
No, well, no, he just bought the land, didn't he?
yeah,
So he hasn't had time to do that.
he's got it all timed out.
Oh, does he?
See, this is what confuses me, he wanted to come in on me, and I said, no way. Because I said, I'm not in your district. So, he's pissed off.
Which one did he buy it himself? Your farm?
Doll farm, 240 that Melvin used to live on.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, the one that just did all the cleaning up and all that stuff. Okay.
And along with that is your monstrance also works for every single lateral. So let's say you guys want to do just a main this time and don't want to do any more work in the main. That also works, where you just do the main and none of the laterals get done, or each individual person on the lateral gets a vote on their lateral that we proposed. So it doesn't have to be all one big project, it can be piecemeal, larger, not all.
So the laterals aren't. The first people that are served are separate, and then you wouldn't discuss them.
No, so you're only being assessed for what you use. So everyone is assessed for the main, because everyone's water uses the main. Now, your assessments are different based on those factors. So there'll be some people who pay very little on the main, and some people pay probably 2 times the average on the main. And everyone will assess for the main, but the laterals, you're only paying for if you actually use one of the laterals. So if all you use is the main, that's all you're being assessed for. If you're on the main and also lateral 2, you'll be paying 2 assessments.
No, that original statement, you said, well, it's under Iowa State code, or I forget the right wording, most of the tiles in the county.
Our understands.
The only 2 I know of now is 21 in Deer Creek,
Mhm.
and you can take that half inch of water in 24 hours. But I mean, using that statement there, you could
Yeah,
fill the whole county almost.
yeah, you almost could. It's basically whoever comes in and asks for improvements, then you're probably gonna recommend an improvement
And
because
then
they're
rather
not.
than recommend that also for a financial burden on others.
Mhm.
And I get very upset when big money men come into our county, buy this ground up and then try to force stuff on us. So you know how I'm never gonna vote on this.
Yeah, and the good thing about improvement is everyone has a vote. Everybody does have a vote on
Let the
it.
big money men own more land.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there is that part of it, that, yeah.
It's kind of called bullying.
Mhm.
It's where you talk to your legislators.
Yeah, that's good. It's like talking to them about housing plans.
Another subject. Okay, go ahead.
Back to our map. Then our next kind of large chunk piece would have been this one that serves the south. And it's this one here, we refer to it as lateral 2. When it comes, it crosses the road. And that serves about 1,000 acres. So it cuts the district basically in half. Half the district is served by the main. Once you get past this point, the other half is served by this lateral 2. At the upper end, we recommend a 36-inch. And it's all, what size we recommend, it's all a formula based on to get that half-inch drainage coefficient, there's two things that you can do to increase your capacity. You either increase the size or increase the grade. And there's not a lot of grade in this area, so we had to go with a 36-inch tile, or the tile above it had a little more grade, so we were able to get down to a 30-inch tile for that one. That's why there's a difference, even though they're serving about the same number of acres. When you got more grade, you can make use of that, save some money. And on this lateral too, in total, we had estimated a little over $500,000 for that piece of it. We're looking at about a $500 assessment per acre. On average. So if you're on lateral 2 and you're also gonna pay the main, you'll be paying a portion of it, probably less than average, because you're not using that much of it though. And then your lateral 2 on average about $500 an acre. When the dollars do start to add up, when we actually file a report, we'll break it down more for everyone. You'll actually see the actual water feds, you'll be able to look at where you are. But on this lateral 2, there is currently several laterals off of it. We try to minimize those laterals as much as possible, because probably in the early days when this was originally done, there were a bunch of people who owned 40s or 80s, and everyone's wanting an outlet to their individual farms. Now there's been consolidation, and we're trying to minimize it, so it's each person getting an outlet, but we're not serving multiple outlets within one field, try to save the money. Those old tiles in places where we are not building new tiles, we will leave those tiles in place and they will continue to function. There will be some relief in that there now have a better outlet to go into, or that we've pulled some land off of it, maybe from a different lateral, but they will be undersized still, and they will continue to function. So there will be some drainage relief to those. Off of lateral 2, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 laterals that serve this area, serve kind of that central 1,000 acres. Does anyone want me to go into detail about those laterals, or it's the same basic idea? Everyone's going to be sized to a half-inch coefficient. Try to shorten the length as much as possible and stay in the lows.
We're looking for your input. So if you have an idea of you don't feel like you need that much drainage, or if you feel like your current tile is in good condition, we're looking for that input. And I just wanted to add as well, these cost estimates this is a pre-report meeting. So when the official report is filed, that will have the official cost estimate. These are just numbers that we can whip up really quick to bring to this meeting, give you guys a really rough idea. But the official numbers will differ from these numbers, even if the plan stays exactly the same. So.
Are you in this district, Jim?
Yeah, just on the edge of it.
I was trying to look at it in the map, but it didn't look that way. I'm sorry.
If anyone's looking and thinks they'd like a branch somewhere added or branch removed, you've already maybe provided your own private tile system, or you put in a new larger tile somewhere already, let us know. We can count for that, or if you're tiled out in the district.
I'm just wondering if you took a vote right now, how many people would be favoring this?
Yeah, I don't know. Well,
You could take a vote, right, with people in this room.
usually at this point, our report's probably 85% done. We'll be filing it here soon, and then you'll get more information in the report itself.
Imagine the vote will still be the same.
It could be, yeah. Whatever.
Are you scared to take one?
No, I just,
That's not what we're here to take.
That's not what we're
No,
gonna
but
do,
I
John.
mean,
no, I know.
Yeah.
why spend the money if we don't want it?
So the petition's been filed.
Yep.
Now we have to do a survey, we have to do the report. The report's good for 10 years. So.
And they have to do the reclassification, yeah.
So you might as
We're
well.
obligated. That's the worst part. We have to go through this process.
They would, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, we could go to the first hearing, you guys could all say nope, and You guys just now have you just have a plan sheet and a report that you have for the next 10 years that someone could take. I mean, you could take our, let's say there's someone who really wants one of their laterals. They could take the reports and plans that we've filed afterwards, they shoot it down. They call up their local tiler and they say, let's do that 24-inch tile on their private.
Pretty hard to do without putting the main in.
Yeah, the main, yeah, you're gonna need help with the main. You're
I was
gonna
gonna say, that is gonna need to go in first if you're gonna
Have
do
you
it.
considered the, climate change in this, or drier all the time?
So climate change is not factored into it.
If anything, climate change would make the drainage coefficient higher. There's talk of increasing the drainage coefficient due to the increased rain and.
Heavy rain events.
Because that's really what you need. You want the tile for the heavy rain events. And which they're not gonna, you get a 6-inch rain, you're still gonna have tiles. But it's gonna remove that water quicker than it did before.
So there's definitely a lot of factors. Like I say, there's a remonstrance. You can, if we thought we were gonna go ahead with it because somebody said they wanted us to go ahead with it, and you guys would have the ability pretty easily in this district, I'd say. If I know the landowners in there could probably file a remonstrance and stop it if they wanted. And
It looks like there's a lot more
local people here
people in
than,
this region or in this district.
so a large landowner doesn't necessarily, I mean, if Jeff Brackey owned half that district, then it'd be a little different, but.
No, I think it's only 40.
No, I know, I'm just, but he's not even in there, so.
Yeah, he is.
Is
Or if
he?
he gets together with somebody else.
Oh, that's where you said you wanted to talk, yeah, he could, but 240 out of this 2,000 acres doesn't get it down to less than 70%. So.
Yeah, but the board does have some leeway. If there's one guy who owns 50% of the land and every single other person votes against it,
Yes, you can still,
you guys can still.
your objections have a lot more standing here than they do in a repair.
Mhm.
Can you lay out the timeline
Yes,
for what's the procedure, the process for all of this?
Mhm.
Like, what are we calling today, and then what's the next meeting about, and how do you vote, when do you vote, how votes weighted?
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about all that?
yes. So right now, we're just in an informational hearing, or informational meeting, I think it's official term, informational meeting. And no decision's being made, the report hasn't been filed yet. We're just here to kind of give everyone kind of a warning that there's a report that's gonna be filed. And we'll probably file that report. If not next month, it would probably be February, February timeframe is when we'll file that report. The board will then tentatively accept the report at their next board meeting right after that. And at that board meeting, they will then set a public hearing date. In which every one of you will get a letter in the mail, it'll also be published in the paper. And reports will be available at the auditor's office and online. And that'll be set for at least 30 days after the date that they've received it from the board meeting. So they'll send a letter out, let's say we file it February 1st. The board accepts it February 8th. The earliest they would set a date would be March 8th. So it'll probably be sometime in March that there'll be a hearing, public hearing. And at that public hearing, you can, prior to the public hearing, you can go get the reports. You can take a look at them, read them yourself, or you could wait until the hearing itself. And then get a report at or before the hearing, you can file a objection. And all you have to do to file objection is just write on a sheet of paper. My name is so-and-so. I own land in this district. I'm opposed to this project. You don't have to give a reason why if you don't want to. You can list any reasons you want. You don't have to. That gets tallied then. So we will, with our reports, we will have every single landowner, how many acres they own. For every single landowner. And then when we go to do the official voting. The fact that you wrote in a letter and said, I'm opposed to this project, let's say you own 160 acres. Then that 160 acres would go against the vote. So there's two votes, there's the 50% threshold. That 50% of people must be opposed to the project. So that's just there's 20 landowners in this district. 10 need to be opposed to the project. You need to have written the letter at or before. You can write it while you're at the hearing too. You could listen to me and say, I don't like this. So scribble it on a piece of paper, give it to the board. So the hearing's done. So let's say you hit that 10 out of 20 landowners are opposed to this project. The other one then is owning 70% of the land. So those 10 landowners, we would keep track of all their acres. So you own 160, your neighbor owns 40, let's say it adds up to, you guys own 2,100 acres in this district. So let's say 1,800 of it is owned by those 10 landowners. The project would be dead at that point. But let's say that the reverse is true and you guys come here and there is support for this project. So that's how you kill a project. Let's say there is support for that project. And nobody objects or minimal people object to the project. The board decides to then go forward with the project. They would then vote on the project, they would vote yes on the project, and they would go out to bids. And we would probably take bids about a month after that. So we're looking at taking bids in April time period. And in April, we would take bids from a contractor here at the courtroom. It would be noticed in the paper, but you wouldn't receive a letter. But you'd still be welcome to attend if you'd like to. We'd get our bids. Contract would probably start this summer. And we would work through this summer, probably into this fall. Project would be completed probably around the end of the year, around this time. And then 30 days after the project's completed, there would be another hearing in which we would call the completion hearing. And that's when, since we worked through the growing season, the district would come up with this list of damages. And you would be able to come in and be compensated for any crop damages that were lost. So that's the whole construction process. And the hearings involved with that. It also would then go into, and this would probably be, we'd probably be working on this at the same time period. We would go through the classification process, and where there would be a hearing for that as well, in which everyone would be invited to come and voice their concerns or ask questions. And that would, the classification hearing is determining how much each person pays for it, for the project. So right now, you just got the dollars per acre on an average. It would be, you'd be actually able to see yours and say, okay, mine's gonna be exactly $40,000 for my property, something like that. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Explain that?
And correct me if I'm wrong, Jacob, but say the process gets through and we do go to bids and bids come in too high. But the board still has the power at that point to reject the project.
Yes. Yeah, so we've done that. I know I was on a project where we did have bids come in quite a bit higher, and we just didn't do the project then at all.
Is it okay for people to send in a letter of support?
Yes, you can send in a letter of supports.
Just curious. Well, no, we don't, yeah. I mean, it's, some people just sit here in silence and don't say anything, and it's, like, don't know what you're thinking.
Every step along the way, you should receive some notification.
I mean, there's definitely some people that will probably benefit, but it's expensive, I get it, you know, and that's a choice they got, you know, whether they want to participate or nobody wants to participate, that's what they got to decide, so.
And the vote is just the landowners, not the renters, right?
Just the landowners, yes, and that along with that, then crop damages are only paid to landowners as well. It's implied that hopefully your landowner gives you the land, gives you the crop damages if you're the tenant. So that's only the landowners, because they're the ones paying the bill. So I mean, they may pass it on to the tenants, but
So these reports you talk about, the interim reports, if you wanted to see those, you get them at the supervisor's office or
the auditor's office.
the auditor's.
Yeah, we will file with the auditor's office and they'll have copies.
Talk to this girl right up here, she'll take care of
And
it.
then as soon as we get them, we'll post them online too, so
Post them on the
on the
On
website.
the website too, if you want.
So if you go to the work county website under the auditors, you can go to drainage and we post all our reports there.
Or or you can come get a real one,
And I'll give you a paper copy.
get you a real one.
I need to know.
Okay, anything else?
Is there any,
48.
if anyone has any file maps they would like to provide, you can bring them into Val.
Yep.
Anyone, I guess, does anyone put any big tile?
Yeah, this is better.
Yeah, they turned around and.
Yeah.
Was anyone putting any big tiles?
Putting any new big tile?
Yeah, new tiles in this.
So the only one that's did tiling recently would have been Jeff Brackey. What did he look?
Uh,
One of those laterals there? I was just trying to picture it on the map there. Now that you said where it's at, I kind of know, but. It's, he'd be right. Right up in here, right?
Let's see,
Here's the little schoolhouse.
okay. Where's he, oh, okay, way over here. He'd be into,
Oh, he bought land down there.
see, he bought,
Oh, I'm sorry. I was
this is,
thinking-
this is, my.
This is you.
Right up to here.
Oh, he bought it.
No, and then it's from here,
Oh.
What's that thing? It splits there.
no, that was my 20 acres.
Yeah, that's what I mean, the
Yep.
40 splits.
Yeah,
That's why
right.
you're in.
You own that 20 and he owns below you.
Yep, he owns the 60 below.
So he bought this.
Yeah.
He didn't buy it. That's owned by what's his name over at Fort City,
Is
right?
that all the land that you got in?
Yeah,
Okay,
You're kind of like.
so he hooked.
yeah,
he
just like
hooked-
Helgeson, yeah.
He hooked into the main really.
Yeah, he had to hook into that,
Okay.
the black.
That's probably.
Are you
20.
tiled in here?
No, yeah, it's, this is all sand in here. It's all light ground.
Oh, yeah, because this is part where they stole from the road, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the lightest part of my farm.
Rockies, Worth County
Okay.
Farm Association.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then, another name too.
Oh, stinks.
Sinks.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah, that's him. And there's probably more than that.
Yeah, every time it gets to 5,000 acres, you got another contract so you can be a bigger welfare queen.
I'm still worried about that coming. I don't think I'll live it.
Okay. All right. So any more questions on 48? If not,